Hello everybody, Steven here with Cardboard Coalition, and today I figured I'd bring you a how to play of Feed the Kraken by Funtails Games. This is, where does it say it on the box? We don't know, it probably doesn't say it on this part of the box. It doesn't, but this is a game for 5 to 11 players, and I don't remember how long it takes. Probably about an hour or less depending on what version you're playing. I would actually say 30 minutes to 60 minutes now I think about it because I've played through this a handful of times now. Anyways, let's go ahead and run through the setup. And with that, you have inside the manual, I always call these manuals, sorry, from working on cars before playing games. From the rule book, you have 5 to 7 players, which is considered the short game. That's one side of the board. And then if you have 7 to 11 players, you go for the long game or the long journey. And it's just the flip side, and there's some extra stuff that goes on. All right, so let's go ahead and jump through the setup, see if I could do this really quick. So the first thing that we want to do, obviously after you place the map down, is you want to put your ship down. Oh yes, that's a very nice little ship. So you put your ship down in the starting position, which is right there. All right, once you have that done, you go ahead and you put out any of the tokens that need to be on the board. In this case, it would be your Krakens, right? You want to put out your Kraken tokens. This is obviously the deluxe version of the game. In the regular version, you have these, which represent the Kraken areas. I always put the Kraken head right here. In the long journey, the Kraken's head goes right here, right? So go ahead and put those out. And you put out the search the cabin tokens. So in the short game, the 5 to 7 player game, you put out 3. There is a fourth one. If you play the long game, if I remember right, they all go along the bottom right here. It shows it on the map. The long game also gives you cut out their tongue, which is an action that you do. And they have 2 flogging tokens that go out on the board, and it would show you. But since we're playing the short game, we're going to go ahead and set everything for the short game. That makes no sense, but that's what I said. All right. So the next thing you want to do is you want to get these ritual cards. You want to shuffle them, right? And this is when certain captain's told to do certain things. You have to get into this ritual deck and pull the card, and then the cultist goes ahead and grabs a card. I guess I should say this game is a pirate game. You have sailors, you have pirates, and then you have cultists that want to feed themselves to the Kraken, right? All right. So you go ahead and you get the cultist card, ritual card set up, and then you look at the number of players to determine how many off-duty signs you need. In a 5 to 7 player, you get 1, right? So there's the 1 off duty. Sorry, I forgot to turn off the air conditioner. There it goes kicking on again, so it's probably going to be humming in the background the whole time. Like I said, it's hot here. The next thing you do is you set up your, is it the voyage deck they call it? The navigation deck. You set up your navigation deck, which is set up right here. All the instructions are in there, but it has your blue cards, your red cards, and your yellow cards, right? And there's certain cards that you take out, which the manual will tell you. The nice thing, here, let me try to grab this manual, is it gives you lots of charts, which makes the setup really easy. So right here you have the setup. It tells you how many cards you should have total and what cards you should have. So in this short journey version, there's some cards that you take out. The cards that you take out are 1 drunk sailor card, 1 occultist, I think this is a convert or occultist card, and then 2 red cards that add gunpowder or guns. They add guns. All right. So you go ahead and you take those out and you place them to the side, shuffle up your deck, you throw it over there. Next, you want to make sure, as I said, 5 sailors are set up over here. You obviously would want to be kind of around the board, not in one group. You give each sailor 3 pistols, right? This is when they can vote on mutinies, and we'll go over that. So each sailor gets their 3 pistols. Once that is done, you go ahead and you get your cards, your captain cards. You have your crew cards, which are right here. You always have the captain one, and then you count for the amount of people that are in -1. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, it's a 5 players, so we'd have 4, but we have a whole stack of cards. I guess you could do it from this side if you wanted. 2, 3, 4. Right, and go ahead and set those out. You don't need it. And you have the captain card, right? And those are going to get passed out after the meeting of pirates. So we'll go ahead and just set those right there for now, so they're ready to go. All right. So your navigation cards, this is also for the deluxe. This is your discard. This is your where you place your navigation cards to draw from. If you have the basic version, you will have a deep card, which represents that. So instead, you just have a draw pile, and then you would put, when you discard them, you would discard them right here. All right. So once we get all that done, you want to go ahead and set up your pirates and your sailors. You're gonna have an occultist, and this is the deluxe. If you have the base version, it's these cards, right? And this is considered the sea bag, and you flip it over and it shows their loyalty inside. So, and that's for 11 player, it's an occultist accomplice. There's the occultist. All right. So as you can see in these bags, we have set up little tokens. So right now, we have this card right here. Oh, I forgot to tell you guys, you put this card out next to the board to let you know what to have out. Actually, this is the crew card, not these, but we'll get to those in a minute. So this is the crew card. You go ahead and put it out. It tells you your sailors, your pirates, your occultists. It tells you how many it takes to mutiny, things like that, and how many off-duty, or who's the off-duty person, but we'll get into that in the gameplay. All right, so we have them set up. As you can tell, we have 5 bags here. There's 5 bags playing, and we know the occultist goes in. You mix them all around however you want, right? I tend to let people just draw their bags once I've mixed them. But first, before we get to that point, you mix up your sailors and your pirates, and you just randomly take one out. And you throw it in the box. You don't need that anymore. Then you take the occultist. You drop the occultist in the bag. You go ahead and throw it in here. You mix everything up again. And then this is where I let everybody pick their bags. So let's go ahead and do this. We're just gonna give everybody a bag. Let's see the camera angle. We need this out. Give everybody, everyone gets a bag. Bag, 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 bag. Everyone has a bag. All right, you get a bag and you get a bag. All right. So we have that all set up. We are ready to go, right? So like I said, you have, for a longer game, you can flip this open, gives you all the charts and everything. The main difference is you get more navigation cards in there. You have some more tiles. You do some flogging, which is fun. I'll go over in some of the extra rules just to try to help you guys out. But let's try to keep this sweet and simple and quick for you guys to understand. All right. So now that we have a short game set up, because we have 5 players, we go ahead and we do what's called the meeting of the pirates, the gathering of the pirates, right? And so it's pretty easy lines to remember, but they have the lines in the book. If you guys have played like a Werewolf or something like that, they have the lines right here that you kind of walk through, right? But here you go. So what you end up doing is all players close their eyes. You say this out loud. All players close their eyes. Pirates open their eyes. So anybody who has a pirate token would open their eyes and they would look around. Now, if you remember the chart, well, that's the Kraken. If you remember the chart from, let me grab this, setting up the small game, there's a possibility to be 2 pirates and 2 sailors, or 3 sailors and 1 pirate. So a pirate might look around and not find anybody. But anyways, back to it. So you're saying this out loud. You just got to remember it really quick. It's pretty simple. So all players close their eyes. Pirates, open your eyes and memorize team members. And then it says the pirates have 20 seconds. I think it's kind of fun to kind of pound the table, but as it shakes the camera and everything, it could be disruptive. But count to 20. Once you get to 20, then you say all pirates open your eyes. All players open your eyes. Now, no occultists don't get to see, even if you're an 11-player game where you have the extra occultist, They don't get to look around and see who's there. Sailors don't get to see who sailors are. Only the pirates know that they're cutthroat, right? All right, so after you do that, that's when you go ahead and you grab these cards right here. You just randomly grab one less than the amount of players you have. You take the captain card, you sit in there, you shuffle it around, right? And then you pass it out. You give each person a card. These cards have special abilities that most of them can use once, but they keep them hidden until they want to use them. But right off the bat, you look through these, and whoever has the captain card, they say, I'm the captain. That person gets the navigator token, the lieutenant token, and yes, the wheel spins, which is always fun. And they also get the captain's log, right? So they get the captain's log. So you go ahead and give those to whoever had the captain card, right? Then they take this captain card and they put it back in the box. And from the stack, and you got a good amount of these, they grab a different pirate card, right? So once you have that done, you are ready to play the game. So I'm just going to adjust these right now. So how the game goes through is the captain decides who's going to get what. Yeah, I know this is a mess, but it's kind of space. The captain decides who's going to be the navigator and who's going to be the lieutenant. So let's go ahead and walk through that first. So we got our captain right here. Captain cannot choose themselves to be the navigator or the lieutenant. So the captain would say, man, this player navigator, and we're going to make this player the lieutenant, right? And we'll go like that. So I know it goes kind of off camera. No, I don't like that. And there's the captain's log. All right, so the captain goes ahead, and this phase is called appointing the navigation team. So it would be the captain, the lieutenant, and the navigator. So once that's done, there's a question of loyalty. So you get to question of loyalty, and they have a little script in here that you can say, where is it? There it is. If you're not satisfied with my decision, let your guns speak. So captain chooses his navigation team. Then he says, do you scurvy dogs agree? Everybody takes their 3 that they have. They hide them where no one can see them. And they go ahead and put X amount in their hand. Then everybody brings their hand up. And then on a count, you flip it over. If there is a total of 3 pistols, that means there is a mutiny. You have to have 3. So if there's a total of 3 pistols, there's a mutiny. What happens with the mutiny is you see who put in the most, pretend like I'm 2 people, who put in the most amount of pistols. This person put in the most amount. So this person would become the captain. They would get the captain's log, they would get the navigator, and they would get the lieutenant token. Now, these tokens get used. If you put in for the mutiny, your tokens go away. If you don't, you get to keep your tokens. Now, the other thing is, if there's a tie, right, the captain picks one of those 2 people and says that person isn't the captain, and the other person gets to be the captain. So the captain that they're mutinying against gets to go, you're not the captain, but I'll follow this person. All right, if there is a 3-way tie, the person who got kicked out gets to pick the next person kicked out, and so on and so forth until you're down to 1 person out of those ties with the most. Then you start the phase all over again with the appointing navigation team. So let's say it switched down to here because they had the most tokens. They go, okay, I want this person to be the navigator and this person to be the lieutenant. Then once again, you say, do you guys agree? If no one agrees, speak with your guns. You take all your stuff. How we played it was we always took all of our guns and put them underneath and then showed. And a lot of times there was no mutiny, and times there were, which made it really fun. All right. Once you've gotten past the setting up the team and then seeing if there's going to be a mutiny, right? A question of loyalty, then you go ahead and you start the navigation. So this is what happens in navigation. The first part of navigation is the captain. So this is the captain down here, takes 2 navigation cards. The lieutenant takes 2 navigation cards. The captain and lieutenant look at their 2 navigation cards. And based on where they want to go on the map and their loyalty and maybe what they want to do, and we'll go over the different symbols really quick, and I'll show you guys where you can find them in the book. But you decide which one you want to get rid of, which you'll throw into the deep, right? And then which one you want to keep. The one you keep, you go ahead and put in the captain's log, right, to one side. We'll just go ahead and set the captain's log right here for now. The lieutenant does the same thing. They look at their two cards, and you're like, oh, they're both the same cards. Sometimes this sucks when this happens. So they're gonna put one in the deep. This is always without, oops, you put them face down in here. This is without letting anybody see, right? Then the captain hands the captain's log to the navigator. The navigator takes the log, gives it a shake, a little shake, a shuffle. I know it kind of bangs the cards around. Then the navigator opens the captain's log. And the navigator goes ahead and looks at the two cards. And the navigator decides which card to throw in the deep and which card to keep. And this is still without showing anybody. So let's say they take that one, put it in the deep. They put that one back face down. They hand the log back to the captain. Now, one thing to keep in mind is the navigator, and this comes in the later parts of the game, the navigator can look at their options and they might choose that neither of these options are good. They can take the cards. They can say, I refuse to follow these orders, right? Both these cards would go into the deep, and then you would start back at the captain gets the lieutenant navigation card, or lieutenant and the navigator tokens back, they get the logbook back, and you start the cycle. Now that person who was the navigator who said, I refuse to follow orders, no longer gets to be a navigator, a lieutenant. They can't vote in mutinies. They're still in the game, which sounds a little weird. They're still in the game because their team can win or lose depending on what side they're on. So it's almost a fail-safe. Like if all options are horrible, you can say no. But let's go back and say that the navigator did pick one card. They put the card in there. They hand it to the captain. At this point, there's one card left. This is open knowledge. So the captain takes that card, flips it over. The first thing that the captain does, let's see if we can set it right here so you guys can see the card, is they notice the color. If you see here, you have different colored arrows, and we did play with a friend who was colorblind, and I can't remember what they said. I think they said brown, green, and gray was what it looked like to them. But you follow the color and the ship. The first thing the ship does is it moves. So you move to that space. Next thing you do is you see if there's any tokens in that space, right? So let's go ahead and go over the tokens. So this is a search the cabin token. With the search the cabin token, the captain gets to pick one of the players and decide what player they want. They get that player's sea bag. Everybody's supposed to close their eyes except for the captain. Captain takes a quick gander at what affiliation they have. They hand the sea bag back. Everybody opens their eyes. That's search the cabin. Now, as I said, in the long game, let's see if I can find it. Oh, there it is. In the long game, we have floggings, which are fun, and we have cut out your tongue. So let's do cut out your tongue because this one's really simple. Cut out your tongue means that the captain picks a person. They no longer can speak. They can make noises, murmur, murmur, but they can't speak clear words, and they can gesture and stuff, and they're still in the game, but their tongue's cut out. All right, and then we have, and this is for the longer game, not the shorter game, guys, we have the flogging ones. If you land on this token, this person gets flogged, right? And what happens is there's this card that goes out on the table, and it says, I am not a. The captain hands them these flogging tokens. And what the person does, they pick they pick a sailor, or not a sailor, they pick someone on the ship, right? And they give them these three cards. That person on the ship picks the card that matches what they're affiliated with, pirates, sailors, or occultists, right? They pick that one and they keep it hidden to them so no one sees. They take these two cards, they shuffle them around. They say shuffle them before you even pick, just in case people know the order. Shuffle them around. They hand them to the captain. Captain takes one of these, looks at, oh, whoops, I almost messed it up too. So they shuffle them, they hand them to the captain. Captain takes one of these cards blindly and puts it down like this. and says this person is not, right, a sailor. Now, we don't know what this other one could be, but we know that person's not a sailor. So that's how the flogging happens. Now, the last place that you might land when moving around, right, because the first action is moving, then it's taking care of tokens, is you might land in one of these with a kraken. Kraken symbols, right? If someone lands there, the captain chooses somebody and they throw that person to the kraken. They sacrifice that person to get away from the kraken, whatever. Now, if the captain, and we know this one was the occultist, picks the occultist or someone who's been converted, then the occultists win, right? If not, that person dies, kind of like your tongue getting cut out. You're not out of the game in a sense. You can still win the game. All right. So there's your things for your tokens. Now, the third thing you do, so you move, do any token action, then you do what the card says. Now in here we have this whole thing of what the card says, drunk. And I'm not going to read through all of it, but this means the current captain is drunk and can no longer be the captain. Captain changes. Right? Armed, the navigator gets one gun. Disarmed, the navigator loses one gun. Mermaid, the captain chooses another player. That player shuffles the last 3 discarded cards. I had to look at it for a second. So they take cards from the discard, they shuffle the last 3 and look at it to try to, it gives them a chance to try to figure out what's going on. Now, while doing these things, people aren't allowed to speak. But once they're done, even with the captain checking your sea bag, they're allowed to talk afterwards. They don't have to tell the truth, though. They can lie. They're pirates. Telescope. The captain chooses a player. That player looks at the top navigation card in the draw pile. So they look at the top card here. And then Cult Uprising. The captain must reveal a cult card. All right, so let's see if I can find a Cult Uprising so we can do the Cult Uprising part. And we're almost done. I'm trying to get you guys through this. Nope, there were no cult cards in here. Let's see if we can grab one from here real quick. There's a Cult Uprising card. So in this sense, if this was the card pulled, obviously the ship would go yellow, so they would go right here. But the captain would do anything that's there, right? You do the token. Then they would do the Cult Uprising. So how the Cult Uprising works is they go through these cards. Well, they don't go through these cards. They should be shuffled. The captain takes the first one off the top and he looks at it, right? This one is the pistols. Now, I even have to get the book out because when we played, we kept getting convert someone. So the pistols, what the pistols do is they give people pistols, obviously, right? Where are my things? There we go. Here we go. That's what it is. The cult leader secretly distributes 3 guns. Right, so everybody close their eyes. Cult leader kind of puts guns out. The other one that we have, the other 2 I know from playing because we've ran into them. So cult leader secretly gives people pistols, 3 pistols, and everybody close their eyes. Cult leader looks at 3 people to see their affiliation, and then this one is the cult leader gets to convert someone to the cult, and this is another one of the fun things that you get to do. All right. So let's say that the current captain pulls the cult leader one. What you do is everybody puts their fist in the middle, right? And we've learned that if you have to stand up to do this stuff, you stand up so no one knows. And what we've learned is you want one person, whoever's the cultist, gets to open their eyes and they get to tap someone else. This person now becomes an occultist. If they are a sailor or a pirate, they're an occultist now. Right? So they win if an occultist gets fed to the Kraken or they get to the Kraken, which they get to feed everybody to the Kraken. All right. So one thing to keep in mind, let's say you are a sailor, but you've been bloop, turned into an occultist and the captain checks your sea bag, right? If that happens, when everyone closes their eyes, captain picks someone, remember the sea bag, picks someone, says, hey, I'm looking at your sea bag. Everyone closes their eyes. The occultist does a little like to let the captain know, or they can go like this really quiet, to let the captain know that they're not what their token says, they're now an occultist. Captain gets to know you're an occultist. All right. So that is how you go through the navigation phase. Remember, move, do a token if you're on a token, and then do whatever the card tells you. Once that navigation phase is done, the current captain keeps this card as they call it a resume. And it goes to certain things and special abilities that go on. And the drunken one too. There's the drunken thing. The captain roll moves clockwise to the next player who has the fewest navigation cards, resumes, in front of them. So it would go to, that's why you keep these. So every time you're a captain, you keep your little action card. It goes, figures that out, and there's special abilities in these cards. Once that is all done, the captain, if it hasn't changed, gets all this stuff back, right? And you have the off-duty, and there's little stands to hold these up. Off-duty goes to the navigator. And you know how to see who goes off-duty. Once again, they have charts in here which make it really easy. Here's the off-duty chart, right? 5 to 6 players, you have 1 navigator. When you have 7 to 8 players, it goes to lieutenant and navigator, well, off-duty signs. You have 9 to 11 players, the captain, lieutenant, and the navigator all are off-duty. Now, what off-duty means is that in this next round, this person can't be picked to be a navigator or a lieutenant, right? You can be off-duty and become a captain, right? But you can't become a lieutenant or a navigator when you're off-duty. All right, and then that's the final part. And then you go back around again from the assigning phase where you assign roles, and you go through the mutiny, then you go through the navigation, and then the off-duty switches around. The one thing that we did not talk about is these special ability cards. And so what happens is if you want to use this one is before the captain option, a navigation team, oops, sorry, I'm just not reading this right. Before the captain appoints a navigation team, move one of the off-duty signs to another player. That player is off-duty now. So this one tells you one, this is before the captain does something, right? Before they assign. You have to flip your card over and you have to change the off-duty thing around. All right, let's see if we get another one. Most of them, it's a single time play. All right, choose a player, steal 1 gun from that player's supply and add it to yours. So you can flip this at any time and just take something from that player. And there's a whole bunch of them. Like I showed you, there's definitely a stack of cards of these. And it's time-based, and it'll tell you on here if it's time-based. If it doesn't tell you time-based, you can do it at any time. So that is how you play Feed the Kraken from Funtails Games. I'm pretty sure I covered everything. Hopefully I didn't confuse you guys with jumping into some of the long game for the bigger player counts and back. But this does show you lots of things. Movement step. It shows you to move, do a token, do what it says on the card. Over here it tells you the navigation cards. Based on what you're playing, and this is the quick journey, the shorter game with less people, how many cards should be in there, so on and so forth. This is a real simple game. Might look like it's a little, I am not sure in the beginning, but it's a really simple game once you kind of get it down. It seems pretty fun, and I will get you guys a review on it. But with that said, I'm Steven. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm also with Cardboard Coalition, so the only place I'm with, right? I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.